In this lecture, we're going to talk about a problem which affects many IELTS candidates and many people in life, including myself, which is anxiety and when we feel anxious taking tests. So this lecture will talk all about how to manage those nervous feelings that can damage your IELTS score, particularly in the speaking test. Firstly, it's very important to recognize that anxiety is a universal problem. By this, I mean that almost everybody experiences nervousness. The first thing to recognize is that you are not alone, no matter how many times you've taken the exam. Sometimes it can actually be that the more you take the exam, the more nervous you feel. So it's okay. Anxiety is normal. If you think otherwise, you'll only make it worse. It's important to recognize that the anxiety is there, but try not to think any more of it. Try not to interpret it. Our problem is that anxiety can also have an impact on our speaking performance. It can slow us down, speed us up, make us stumble over our words, or make all of our words disappear. And that can be a huge problem. This doesn't happen to us when we're relaxed. So, how can we get to this relaxed place? Let's have a look at some techniques. How to manage nerves then? Well, anxiety is really about mindset. It's about perceiving a threat. So we need to change this mindset, making the brain and body see no threat. How can we do this? Few ways. First of all, preparation. You're already doing the right thing. You're here taking this Udemy course, and I'm sure you're practicing outside of the course as well. The more that you prepare, the more you'll feel in control of the situation. People tend to feel very nervous when they don't feel in control. The more you prepare, the more control, the more command, the less nervousness you feel. Breathing exercises are very, very useful. It's basically a case of breathing in for 5 long seconds, sort of 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and so forth. If you breathe in for that long and breathe out for the same amount of time, if you do that 5, 6, 7 times, your body will respond to that action and it will calm your system down. This is something even taught in the military and in other high pressure jobs. It does work. There is science behind it regarding the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system that you can check it out. But it's not just words. Breathing exercises really do work. Perception. As mentioned, anxiety is about a perceived threat, so let's change that perception. Try to imagine that your speaking test is not really much of a test at all, but more of a friendly chat with someone who is curious about what you think. If you go in with too much of a test mindset, as we talked about much earlier, your language can become quite robotic anyway. It can become a little bit artificial. If you see it as more of a friendly chat, your language will probably be more natural and your nerves will mostly disappear as a result. You wouldn't be nervous if you were talking to a friend. So try to perceive it as a friendly chat. Remember to just take one thing at a time. Try not to over-anticipate. We've talked about this with regards to idioms, but it's also true with regards to anxiety. If you try to imagine the future and what questions you're going to get and how you're going to answer them, that will only fill you with dread. Again, it's about control. You're trying to control the situation. Try to let go of that need for control. Once you're in the exam and you've got no more time to prepare, just let that go and just let what happens happen. Try to recognize your anxiety. Don't try to ignore the anxiety, as it will only kind of creep up on you. Recognize it, acknowledge it, and then just sort of let it wash over you if you can. Try not to do anything about it. This is the essence of meditation, really. Focus on a feeling and just let it go, let it pass. If that doesn't help enough, just think about your feet on the ground, okay? I don't know why this works exactly, but just considering your feet on the ground and that you're grounded For me, it really helps. I'm not really quite sure why. I guess it makes us feel, again, more in control, like we're not going to be swept away by our anxiety. And there's another thing that should help, and that is that your anxiety can actually be used to improve your score in the speaking test. One common result of anxiety is that it causes us sometimes to forget our words, sometimes even forget the question we've just been asked. Now, in this case, we can actually use idioms to express this anxiety and this forgetfulness, and thus demonstrate another layer to our English command. Shows greater lexical resource and therefore might improve your score. If you feel this kind of anxiety when answering about forgetting words or forgetting questions, instead of stalling for time by using try using these idioms instead. Now, before starting your answer, if you can't think of what to say, you might say, "I'm sorry, can you give me a moment? My mind just went blank," or "my mind has just gone blank." So you can either use that in the past simple or in the present perfect. If you forget a particular word, you can say, "One moment, it's on the tip of my tongue," and you would say it like this with an upward inflection. Hopefully the word would then come, but if it doesn't, as we've talked about, it's okay to say you can't remember the word. If you've forgotten the question, you can ask again by saying, "Sorry, could I please have the question again? My mind went offline for a moment there." Okay, my mind went offline. You can also use "my mind's just gone blank," or "my mind just went blank." And if you're sort of losing track of what you're saying in a part 2 segment, you can say, "Oh, sorry, I'll just start that bit again. I just lost my train of thought there." Okay, so a few of these are interchangeable, but if you can use these idioms when you feel this anxiety, then you may actually be able to boost your score a little bit. And in doing so, in knowing that you have these expressions to hand in your mind, that in itself may help you to reduce that level of anxiety. If anxiety is helpful for you, you may not think about it so much, and then you might not actually feel it. One final point to mention in terms of anxiety is that although IELTS is very important for many of you, absolutely, you can always take the exam again. It's not like there's this one shot and that's it. Even if you have deadlines, I'm sure that you can apply later on, and maybe you miss this deadline, you'll try later. So try not to get caught up in this only one shot frame of mind. Again, that mindset is so important. There's no threat here. It's just a friendly chat. You can do your breathing exercises, and you may even be able to use anxiety to improve your score.